Hello everybody, welcome to episode 10 of the Foxhole Feed. Today is September 28th. We're going to start the show off with some slightly terrible news, if you guys haven't heard already. The new Hitman game that's going to be coming out on the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One, which should have been coming out in the fall, is going to be unfortunately delayed, which sucks. But on the bottom I posted a link to the news of delay, and I also posted a link of some new gameplay that came out of EGX. Really long, 47 minutes long, really interesting shit, shows all the creative things that you could do, shows the nice huge open world, shows Agent 47 have all these wealth of options. The director of the game is talking about all the different elements that accompany the game, the new world. He's telling you the differences between this game and Absolution, and he goes on to tell you stats like before, like 40 people or so could take over an area, and now they could have like 400 plus people all populating an area. Looks really good, really interesting, really technical, a wealth of options. I'm pissed off that this is personally delayed because I like the series and I hate to see it get delayed, but they had great reasons for their delay. A lot of it had to do with constraints, and a lot of it had to do with they wanted to make a game with more content in it. If you guys don't know already, Hitman, the new Hitman coming out on PlayStation 4 and Xbox One and PC, has a sort of episodic, I don't even want to use the word episodic because they don't even want to use the word episodic apparently. Now, this game has content that's going to release for it basically for the remainder of the series' existence, or this game's existence. It's going to release content for free. Now, what they decided to do was have live events. Now, some of these live events might be everybody goes in an area on some multiplayer type thing where you have to kill a dude, and if you can't kill that dude and somebody else killed him, then it's gone forever. You can't redo it, and that's it. The game was supposed to release only digitally. I believe that's likely still the case, and then later on after a year the game was going to release with a physical edition that had all the changes and all the extra stuff that was given as the downloadable stuff early on. A lot of people personally didn't like it. I'm okay with it because I get what they're going with, and it's not necessarily episodic in respect that content's not going to be there, because this Hitman's going to have 7 and the rest of the series is around 13 or 12, so it's not that far away from the Hitman games in terms of its content. It has 7 as a fair number, and to be honest, with the wealth of options they give you, you're getting something more in-depth than you were on any previous Hitman game to really complain about number. This is a quality versus quantity type thing. So they sound like that's why the purpose of the delay is. I believe it's going to be coming out now in either February or March. I'll link the date on the bottom. Sucks, but it's what it is. It's for the greater good. In other interesting industry news, DICE had an interview with Game Radar discussing their development of Star Wars Battlefront, and they reveal that when Disney came up to them asking them to work on a Star Wars license or Star Wars IP, they stated that they almost turned it down because they were fully booked. Now, this likely came a little bit after they were done with Battlefield 4 in terms of finishing it, and then likely when the team was transitioning to doing the DLC stuff, or part of their team was doing DLC stuff, the other part of the team was probably assisting Criterion or whoever's actually doing the new Need for Speed game that's coming out this fall, and another part of their team was clearly making Mirror's Edge, and another part of their team was probably working on Battlefield 5. DICE is a huge team in Sweden, so DICE's team is similar to Sony Santa Monica's team, where it's composed of lots of other separate teams, or similar to how Sony Japan's team is just a big team with lots of smaller teams attached to it. So something tells me that's how their structure likely is, so I could understand why they likely almost turned it down. I believe they delayed what they were inevitably going to do with Battlefront 5 to make Star Wars Battlefront. So Battlefield 5 was likely going to come out, but they probably delayed it in order to actually work on this IP. Now, what he states is that other developers that were working within DICE who didn't want to work in it didn't really need to. So he states that, he would love to work on Star Wars, or some people stated they would love to work on Star Wars, but, he doesn't work for, he says, I don't work for DICE. So he says that it's very organic, that some members of the team want to work on the IP, and some members of the team, wanted to work on Mirror's Edge, or some members of the team likely wanted to continue working on Battlefield 5 if they were even working on Battlefield 5 at that time, which I believe they are. So I like that they have that sort of organic atmosphere that allows them to pick and choose the projects they're a part of, as it's pretty interesting. That lets them sort of not have to force it on the entire team, because it's clear all of DICE is not working on this. If you consider Mirror's Edge is being worked by another part of DICE, which is supposed to come out in February. So there's clearly another part of their team that's working really hard at another game, and clearly the other part of the team is most likely 100% calling it working on Battlefield 5. So they're a pretty packed team. As it's coming to all platforms, the beta is going to be coming to all platforms October 8th, so look out for that. Another news coming out of EGX, some more industry talk regarding PlayStation VR. Sony's exec Simon Benson was talking had a keynote on PlayStation VR at EGX this year. In his keynote, he states simplicity, accessibility, social gameplay is going to help set the PlayStation VR apart. He states some technical things like with conjunction with the PlayStation 4, the VR headset is able to deliver images at 120 frames per second, along with 100 degrees field of view. Now, a lot of this has everything to do with it's game dependent. This is really depending on what game is even going to be running it, versus whether it could do it. It just depends on what game it's doing it with. But he's correct to state those things, as many people have questions regarding frame rate and if the device can deliver the type of experience that could fully, meet people's expectations for virtual reality. He goes on to state, someone's playing with VR in a living room, by themselves, and they have the headset on. If somebody walks into the room, the fun isn't over for that person that walked in the room. He could pick up a controller and then, play as well, having another completely different role in the screen. So you could have the headset on, somebody else could be picking up the controller and playing and doing something completely different. As, it's showing that the game doesn't just end for the dude that walked in there, that they're creating experiences with VR that basically work with multiple people wearing a headset or multiple people not wearing a headset, which I actually like. So he states that they're working on those type of social things, I guess, to help market the game to people around other people, but also to make something unique. Not every game needs to be VR only. It could be VR co-op, and let's say, for example, I'm just pulling this out of my ass, let's say the person wearing the headset is inside of some sort of virtual mech, and the other person who doesn't have the headset on could still play. They're just merely doing something else on the screen to assist the person inside of the mech to help him get past certain areas. So I like the idea of that type of co-op play, that it doesn't really need to just be only VR. So which is very significant coming out of EGX, as they haven't really said much things about VR for a little bit. They've always showed some stuff off here and there, like they showed some stuff at Tokyo Game Show and they had certain demos, but certain things I've noticed is that they haven't really put them out to show floor, in terms of, not show floor, but hadn't shown it in their press conferences, I would say. On the show floor, they're there. People are demoing them. They're having these little small things. So it seems like conferences like DICE or conferences like EGX, where they could hold panels and keynotes, seem to be the place where they want to really market it, where it's more intimate. I don't think they want to walk on stage and exaggerate the experience. They don't want to mismarket what they're trying to show. They want to be able to, explain deeply to a group of people the technology they're working with to immerse people. And I don't know if a 30-second advertising clip does that for them. As I stated on numerous video casts, that I don't necessarily feel that it can be properly marketed that way. I think it's a slippery slope when you begin showing people smiling and having fun and doing their whole VR thing. It's a slippery slope, because many people see that and I don't think they buy it. I think they sort of go into that shell of disbelief, or they go in that shell of sure it can, and their expectations rise to a level that may not be able to be met. So I think it's correct that they sort of market it this way, intimately, versus let's try to mass market it to everyone as if this unbelievable thing. So they're doing a good job with it thus far. I would still like to hear more from them, but I guess they're keeping it under wraps for a bigger showing. But who knows? We have October 22nd, I want to say 27th. I'll put the date down at the bottom. Sony's Paris game show is going to be, and then December is going to be the PlayStation Experience. So they still have 2 trade shows this year to show more VR stuff off. So it's really not too late for them to market more of this. So not necessarily big news, but my JRPG fans definitely want to hear this. Some new gameplay footage came from courtesy from DualShockers of favorite little JRPG came out of Tokyo Game Show. Exists Archive, The Other Side of the Sky. That is a real title. Now, gameplay footage shows some turn-based gameplay. This is a PlayStation 4's footage, so I was correct before in one of the other news feeds where I questioned if what we were looking at was possibly PlayStation 4 footage, and it was correct. It was PlayStation 4 footage we were looking at. This one shows a little turn-based battle. You know, you got a character, one of the girls has like a staff, and then your main character has a sword, and then you got another character that has like these like guns, dual guns, by the way, so Japanese. And then you got another character that's sort of in the background that has like magical powers that does magic effects on the actual boss. So it's a very small gameplay clip. I mean, it's about 10 minutes, but it's still sort of small. It's not really long, I would say. It's small, but it's not necessarily long. The person sort of just does like, you know, a battle, and then it shows some Japanese cutscene, some Japanese text of them texting, and then more battle, and then it shows like some footage of the sort of platforming, but I don't believe the platforming is like a thing in the game. You could do it, but I don't think it's something that's challenging as if, you know, it is a platforming game. In terms of challenge, but you can do that, and that looks like that's how you traverse the world, similar to the Valkyrie Profile series, which this team actually also made. So a lot of interesting stuff from it. It looks really interesting, though we didn't learn too much from it. You just got to see a lot more of that, lot more of its turn-based gameplay. Now, speaking of Japanesey news, the Mighty 9 finally gets a release date. Yay! So Mighty 9 confirms its release date for coming out February 9th in the US, worldwide on the 12th of February 2016. Very happy to hear it's officially getting a you know, early release date. All we had prior to this was just Q1. If you guys don't know, Mighty 9 recently got delayed like in April. They announced they'll confirm the delay in April. Many people had their suspicions on the release date happening so soon, but it was confirmed in April that it was going to be delayed. Now, the team that's doing this is also doing Red Ash, which is like a spiritual successor to Mega Man Legends. They're also doing Recore, a game that was shown at E3 this year at Microsoft's press event. It's going to be worked on by Microsoft along with them. Apparently they've been working on this game for quite a while, and it's supposed to release in spring 2016. But the problem I have with that is like we don't even have gameplay of that game. And I actually thought we would have saw that at Gamescom along with other stuff, but I especially thought we would see that at Gamescom, and we never did. Which makes me quite worried about this next project. I get that they had to delay this game for quality reasons, and I'm completely fine with that. If they don't want to release something that makes them look bad, it's correct that they delay it to make it a working title, because that's not going to hurt them as much as, you know, a bad title. Well, a bad title is going to really hurt them, where a delayed title, I don't know if anyone will even remember this, got delayed. I don't know if they'll remember that badly, not enough to hurt them negatively. So I worry slightly about what Recore might be, or even what Red Ash might come of it if they're delaying, you know, this title. If they're delaying it for quality issues, then that's, you know, the team's off to a right start. Now, Concept, the team that KJ works for, is made up of ex-Capcom developers. It's made up of a lot of the original people that worked on Legends and Mega Man titles and all over the industry. So it's in good hands. Just worried about the team in terms of delays, because I think it's strange to announce a delay so far off of the game unless you know it's serious issues that's going wrong with it, which is unfortunate, but it's better they delay it and get it working. If anything, they probably shouldn't promise a release date knowing that the game still has as much issues as it actually has. Speaking of Japanese releases, we got another release coming really soon of Mega Man Legends. Soon, like really soon, as in tomorrow. As in, if today is the 28th, tomorrow is surely going to be the 29th. and Mega Man Legends releases on PSN on the 29th, tomorrow, for the PlayStation 3 and for the PlayStation Vita, not for the PSP, because apparently they don't give a fuck. I stopped giving a fuck. And this has been episode 10 of the Foxhole Feed. See you guys Wednesday for episode 11. And yeah, that's it. This game.
Unit function added.